All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Kamisha Reviews, the queen of reality TV, and I have my boy. I feel like said my little brother at this point.
Sorry,
Kylan is in the building. What's going on? Oh, wait a minute. I think he muted
I'm
himself.
so sorry I interrupted. Yeah, I muted this. It's been quiet for the last like 30 minutes, and this siren just went off right now.
I
Of
didn't even
course.
hear it. I
Oh,
didn't
okay,
even hear.
great. Okay,
That's
great.
crazy.
No,
Okay,
I'm so
okay.
glad then. The headphones are working
They
excellently, I
are.
guess.
They are. I literally hear no background noise at all. Okay, so
Hoping to ruin your intro, yeah.
no, no, and man, they know about intro. Sometimes I get it's whatever. Anyway, so this is like I said, this is Kylan, who I literally call like my family at this point. This is like our what third, fourth interview at this point. But
Oh yeah, for years.
for first of all, I want to say, watching you, in the challenge this year is what I had been predicting since you was on Big Brother. And have I not said
Oh my
this
gosh.
publicly?
Wow.
Publicly, I've said this that I think that Kylan is going to go to the challenge and he's going to excel. We just don't know it yet because he's in this wonderful dynamic group right now, and we're seeing him moving that way. I have a feeling this guy is going to just really be a contender. So, with that being said, how do you feel about your season? Even though of course you did not get the ultimate prize, but I feel like you got a different prize. I'll explain that later. How do you feel about your season overall?
Well, first off, I definitely want to express appreciation for that thought because you have been saying actually I feel like you were one of the people really early, like maybe Challenge USA, that was just like hyping me up like, yo, you could be one of
Yep.
the next like greats, like like CT or something. And I was like,
Yep.
I was like, well, I want that obviously, but it just felt like I was like, I mean, I don't, we'll see what happens, sort of
Right.
deal. Like I expect to put in that work in to be worthy of that sort of praise. But then, but yeah, you were calling it out. I feel like believing that in a way that really is stand out, and I really appreciate that. And yeah, that's funny that you just reminded me of how consistent and early you were with that. So hopefully, I can make that true for both of us. So
It
thank
will.
you.
It's happening. It's happening. You're still in the early stages of the greatness is coming to you. And I saw the. I'm a very astute individual, and you know this already. But the way you moved in the Big Brother house and the moves you made, as quiet as they were, they spoke volumes. I said in a different arena. He's going to dominate because one of the things about the challenge that I love is the physical part. But the people who struggle, even the greats, they struggle with the math, they struggle with the puzzles, some of the things, and you have no issue with those things, and you're doing physical. So I said, oh my God, except for some of the dynamic relationship people have in the house, you don't have years of dads. Once you have that, I've told you, Colin, you are going to be the next CT. I really see that. Period. I'm sorry. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I no apology. I appreciate it greatly. Yeah, I mean that the as far as the season, I mean I feel pretty good. I'm very hard on myself, and
Mm,
fortunately we've had some time. We finished, I don't know, 6 months ago or something. So
yeah.
I have been processing pretty much since then. In the moment, funny enough, I was like so I was keeping the smile, and I gotta send extra love to my fellow like finalists because it is funny. It is such a grueling experience that everyone does bond. It's like you're still
Mm,
competing, you're still racing, but the competition side is so much lower. Everyone's
uh,
encouraging each other. Everyone is um just nobody wants anybody really to like to fail. Like you want to beat them, but you're just all kind of suffering together. And I think that when when we were get I was smiling through it, and they were giving me a lot of praise for that. They're like, yo, like they were, I mean, Bananas and some of the other ones have told me directly, like, hey, you keeping a positive attitude and smiling through all of it made it really hard for any of us to complain, because like,
mm,
okay, he has no shot at this point, just mathematically speaking,
right.
and he's struggling, and it's not getting any easier, and he weighs 40 to 100 pounds more than every single person there.
Mm,
So, and we're not eating. That was one
right.
part I was surprised it didn't show. We got a bag of cashews for the first day. And then at night, after or before the counting, they gave us a white, a leaf, a literal banana leaf, or a small,
That was
no,
it?
a
Oh
leaf, a
my
leaf
God.
of white rice. and the
Dear
Gatorade.
God.
So we swam 5 miles during
Oh,
that day, ran, as just as many miles, and then are on like no nutrients, and which, like I said, is kind of it is a part where like it's grueling, but I
yeah.
feel acclimated to it well. But it was still, obviously the swim was a struggle, and since my form is so bad, I'm putting forth more energy than everyone else
Mm,
to do
gotcha.
to go a quarter of the speed. And so I think that they all saw that and were aware of that. And I think they told me they saw it, they were aware of it, and keeping the smile was helping us. And I was like, for me, keeping the smile was just self-preservation, because
Yeah.
I was like, my choices right now are to smile or to
All
crumble
right.
and die
Yes.
and cry. And it's funny because I was like kind of glad that they didn't show on the second day when we swam to that little dock where we had the rowboats, because I was like, okay, cool, like we're gonna get this rowboats. So I swam to the dock, or whatever. It took me forever to get there, and then I look at the board and it says swim more to go find your paddle, and I like kind of just break down
Oh,
for like 10 seconds, like I'm just kind of
yes. Yes.
crying, except like dry heave crying because there's
Gotcha.
no
Gotcha.
moisture in my body for tears.
Oh, wow. Right. No
so
sweat,
i'm
nothing.
just
Jesus.
so I'm just kind of sad, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah.
So then I hop in the water, get the paddle. But anyways, sorry, very long-winded answer,
No, you're
as
good.
I'm sure you're accustomed to with myself especially.
We're doing the
So
same thing. It's okay.
okay, good. So I felt, but anyway, so being able to keep that attitude, I think, like I said, for me, it was necessary to finish, and I was just glad I got to finish because I was so worried that they were going to have. I'd actually say my biggest fears, or my biggest things I'm grateful for in the final specifically, is
Hmm.
number one, I'm glad that there was no partnered element, because if there was any
Mm,
part of it where I was holding back any of the other contestants
right.
because of that inability, I don't know how I would have ever gotten over that. Like that would
Mm,
have destroyed
understandable.
me. And
Wow.
then the second part was that I feel grateful for was that they didn't do any purges in the final. So
Ooh,
I got to finish, because
yes.
that would have been
Yes.
devastating too, to not be
Yes.
able to
Yes.
finish my first final. So I'm very
Yeah.
grateful for those two things. And yeah, and so and now that when I look at those things, when I focus on what I'm grateful for, and then I can start to feel better about it
Right.
for sure. And then it is, I was talking to one of my literally my oldest friend, who I call like a brother, like we grew up since we were little kids. And he actually sent me a message that was just like, hey, like, I kind of like the sports comparison. It's like, you see someone blown out in the Super Bowl, it's really hard to forget that, like, they had to make it to the Super Bowl. And
Right.
it's
Right. 100%.
impressive to get there.
Yes.
And it is, and and he's like, if we were watching this back when we were 9, 10 years old, like, how impressive would this be still, just
Mm,
to do that, and how proud, and that sort of mindset, along with those other things I just mentioned I was grateful for, has really allowed me to see, like, and appreciate, appreciate the
everything.
performance overall. Yeah, everything
Right.
about it. And maybe, I still want to be hard. I still want to be better prepared, obviously. And, but I am grateful and proud of all the things that, got me there, and for finishing.
Yes, because dude, look at Horatio, how he was so devastated when he was able to finish, with his partner
Exactly.
Olivia. And
That
so I
is
think
so
about
sad.
that. A lot of people have been devastated when they weren't able to complete, whether because their partner. The two things, key points I got from that is the Horatio experience, because of the fact, one, he couldn't finish because of a partner. You spoke about the partner situation. Not being able to finish, you spoke about that as well. You can speak to that because that was devastating for many cast members, even the older. Whenever they couldn't finish, they were more devastated than losing. So I love how you said that. With that being said, the swimming aspect, and most challengers when they do this, and they come back, every year and they eventually win it. They find those key points, these key things that they didn't excel in that last challenge season, and they work on it for that whole year. So you spoke the swimming. I know you got the Twitter. Everybody's talking about the swimming situation. Hey,
Yeah.
what is your plans? I know you're not going to stop, right? So I know what I know you're not going to stop. So what is your plans as far as trying to fix these things that are these small little things that may have affected how you moved in this season?
Well, I think, uh, I mean, it just is continued preparation. A great thing
Hmm.
about this season overall, first off, like broadly speaking, is I got to play alongside all of the people who built, like by being the newest person in the entire cast of every single, of all 40 people.
Right.
Because literally
It's
my first
crazy.
season in MTV was 39.
Hmm.
And and every other person started before then.
Period.
So it was that came with its own struggles being the newest, but it also came
Okay.
with a reward that I got an opportunity to learn from every other person there. And the fact that it
Mm.
was 40 meant that I got to learn from all of the
Oh
greatest
wow.
players who built the game.
Interesting.
And I
Yes.
was definitely learning. Like I was definitely
Mm.
paying
Love
attention.
that
I
for
was taking
you.
notes. I was having conversations. I was talking. I got a really kind note from CT because me and him had a really good conversation that they didn't show. And so like, I got to talk to CT, I got to talk to Johnny after challenges, and like I mad credit to Johnny because he was really helpful. Like if I asked him a question, he'd give me an answer. Like if I was asking
Okay.
about like, hey, how do you manage, working with a team
Right.
when it's this or whatever, like he would answer pretty thoughtfully. So I
Mm.
think that there is, getting to watch all the women compete like as we saw throughout the season. We had, women being men in a
Yes.
lot of the things.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it
Yes.
was really cool just to learn, just to witness these people
Hmm.
play and then also to learn from them. So I think broadly speaking, I learned about multiple aspects of the game. More specifically speaking, I think that the swimming is obviously something I want to work on form, but like I did practice swimming. And I've been
Mm.
trying to make this very clear to people in the sense that in USA one is when I found out that like, oh, I can't really swim very well. I like because I'd never tried to swim
Right.
any length of distance, and
Gotcha.
we had a swimming challenge where we had to swim like I think it was like 125 meters to one buoy and then 750
Oh
meters to
yes.
another.
Yes.
So it
Yeah.
was
I
like
remember.
300
Okay.
meters or whatever total, and I was like, which at that point that was a lot furthest I ever swam,
Hmm.
and I realized when I was in the water, I was like, oh, I'm not like I'm pretty athletic. My endurance is great, so I can keep moving,
Yeah.
but like I'm not really moving well. So then I met with some water polo friends, some friends of mine who did water polo in college, and they helped teach me how to like improve my
Oh,
swimming. And
that's
I
cool.
genuinely doubled, if not tripled, my swimming speed.
Okay.
But the issue is that that was just through brute force for like a short sprint because I
Okay.
was like, this is what I need. And what's funny is, and I kick myself for, is like, because on the one hand, they've been saying how like this is not just the most swimming in a final, it's the most swimming. Like the swimming that we did in those 2 days is more than the last 2 decades like combined of swimming, or
Oh
20
wow.
plus
That's
25
crazy.
seasons plus combined. Like because Johnny was like, I think this is more swimming than I've done in all of my seasons combined, and they were like, yes, it definitely is.
That's
So
crazy.
we're talking, yeah, more swimming in 2 days than the last
Okay.
25 seasons. And it was just an extreme distance amount that
Okay.
no one really could have known about or
Hmm.
expected. So on the
Hmm.
one hand, I wanted to give myself, a little bit of a break because I was like,
Of
you know what,
course. Of
like I
course.
prepared. But that being said, like at the end of the day, I could have practiced it still. I had the opportunity, and so that's why I do put, the reason I take that responsibility and I take that
Hmm.
blame is because then I can do something about it. Because I remember when I
Period.
did the swimming lesson with my friend, it was afterwards like, hey, we could also teach you about like breathing, for like if you want to swim for a long time. And I was like, yeah, let's work on that, like sometime. And then we just never met up
Ah.
again and never
Okay.
swam. So
Wow.
I'm kind of like,
Interesting.
you know what? That is. And I don't know. I posted on Twitter, I think earlier today. I don't know if it was last night or today, about like, because a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, this final's like set up for Jordan. I'm like, Jordan has one hand. Like, so
Right.
we're paddling and he has a less paddle than every other
Yes.
person there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
he's good at it because he worked at it. And it
Hmm.
just happens to be a valuable skill. And so I think, like I said, for me, I'm looking at like, yeah, like, are things not the way I want them to be? Yes. So complaining about that doesn't help. What can I do about it for the future? And so, yes, I want to
100% agree.
continue to work on, not just the sprint swim, but also, oh, and
Everything.
actually,
Hmm.
I think you might appreciate, I was a little bit, the only perturbed, like, kind of editing thing that felt off is that when we did the challenge, in the daily challenge where we drove the car off the cliff and did the swim,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
that swim, uh like my form wasn't great, but it was a short enough direct sprint that they told me at the time I got second so in the edit, they were like, "Oh, there's like kind of a voiceover of TJ. Like it doesn't show his face talking, but you hear a
Right.
voiceover saying like, oh, the last place is between Kylan and Derek.' But like we were all sitting there, we knew it was Derek, and we knew it wasn't me, and we were kind of like, oh, Kylan got second again, cool. So like, I think that they were just kind of setting up like so it didn't surprise everyone that like, oh,
Right.
Kylan like can't swim,
Mm.
which is like fine because it doesn't actually matter who got, the only thing that mattered
It
was
doesn't
first
matter.
and
Right.
last. So
Is
it
it?
didn't
Yeah.
actually matter that they said it story wise. So I don't think it was
Right.
like
Right.
shady. I think it was more just storytelling.
Yes. I think it
But
was too.
I just like to tell, I was like, hey, I did work on it and I could do it well to an extent. So I think that like that was my only issue out of not out of my
Out of every.
own pride,
Okay.
but out of
Hmm.
respect for the game. When people are like, "Why
Love
would you
that.
go and not work on swimming?" I'm like, I would never do that. Like I did, and it
No, I
did
know
make a
you,
difference.
Callie.
Yeah,
Like the thing
and
about
I
it,
know it's not for
if they,
you.
no. I'm saying if people who you have people who follow you that know this about you because you spoke about it after the I told you about it even after that USA. So to me, it's like what you're saying makes sense. Jordan spoke about this in his past interviews as well, and in his own channel that when he first started. Not because I mean, obviously he has the one hand, but of the limitations that he had and the obstacles he went through, he worked on those obstacles just like you stated after every season. So now, yes, at 40, he can do everything because he would talk about how every season he would figure out why I didn't get to the end, why I didn't got voted out so early. And every year he worked on it. So every season he would come back, he was 10 times better. So imagine doing that for all those seasons to get into 40. Yeah, you better know how to do everything. And you've worked on everything that you fell off of every season. I see you going that direction. And because the fact that you told me you was like a sponge and got everything you could from the vets, that is amazing and so smart. You're so smart. Let me ask you a question.
I appreciate it.
How did it feel when you heard the OGs, I called them, hey, Collins is speaking of you as a contender with them, like not in a positive way, like oh man, not saying that bragging on you, but just to say, we gotta watch out for Kylan. Number two again, Kylan. I was like, bro, that is crazy. So I wanted to ask you that. How do you feel about that? Watching it back now, of course, obviously.
No, that was pretty cool, I will say, because it is kind of like literally before we left, like a day or two before we left, I remember I had like a random doubt moment and I called Racia Nerys and I was like, hey, you guys, like I don't know anybody who's competed with the OGs, like really. Because I never have, because all I had was USA and 39. So can I compete with these guys? Like I feel like I could, but like
Right.
I was just like, I can, right? Like, I just needed somebody to tell me, like, yeah, like you can for sure. And I was like, it's gonna be, and I was like, all right, like let's see. And then once we're in there, and I was like, we're in teams, so you can only see so much. You can only
Right.
gather so much from competing. But like, I'm definitely clocking. I'm like reading, and I'm like, okay, like I feel good, rounded in the skill set. And so then you have that first elimination with Darrell and that one was close for
It
dumb
was.
reasons, closer than it should have been, but that was a confusion that and then obviously the one with Devin. I think that one was really cool because it was uh it was kind of a puzzle similar to when he's done before, and he is like such a mental
He
player.
is. He
And
is.
so to be able to like it was like everyone wanted me and Darrell to like, not everyone, but a lot of people wanted like something physical because like he's a more physical player.
Yes.
And
Yes.
and I would love that too because I'd love to show some
Prove the point.
physical
Right. Right.
skill
Right.
set in
Gotcha.
that way.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
um but so to meet Devin in a field that like is considered his kind of area of expertise, and to have that sort of victory was definitely another thing that helped build on. And then obviously after that elimination we went into individual, and that's when I started gathering the wins. And so I think that to hear them kind of acknowledge it, to hear them kind of give some praise, it's surreal. I like
Yeah.
I once again, sorry that was such a long way to get to that answer. I think I was
Oh man, you
processing,
good.
but it was like yeah, to hear them give the praise that they were, it was surreal, and it's like you're yeah, it is, and also it was kind of like a it all like playing with them also kind of gave more of an understanding of the game in the sense of I was like, oh, like
Mm. Hmm.
if you prepare, like the wins are stacked for a reason. That's what I would say. You
Yes.
look at,
Come on,
Rachel has
Kylan.
three, Jordan has a stack, obviously now five with
Yes.
CT and Bananas, like Darrell, like Derek. I was like, these guys have multiple wins because if you come in with the skill set, you can keep winning.
Yes.
And so I feel like between the praise from them and I think that they were kind of clocking like on me learning stuff and picking up, and then so I feel like that with what I was taking away just from watching them, it is definitely built a lot of confidence. And I think that, if anything, it is I think that it was also cool to build confidence alongside them because then you never get arrogant. Like I think even before the final, like after the mini final was really the first time where I was like, oh, like I might like this is possible to
Okay.
win, not just this game, but like with these guys, it's possible to
Right.
win,
Attainable. Very attainable.
and
Gotcha.
yeah, attainable. And so, but I also was like, it's by no means is that going to be easy. Like it's going to take,
Mm.
it's going to take a lot of things. So
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah, so many. It was such a great like learning experience and definitely a confidence builder.
So let me say this: a rumblings on the line, online, talking about the new kids on the block, which I would say is you, Maurice, Horatio.
Yeah.
What I'm going to say is this, and I've been saying this as well. That I felt like 2 years ago, I started saying that when you came on the scene, and I saw Marisa, she was moving, and Horatio, and even Olivia, I was like, the new kids are going to end up being the champs in the next couple of years. And I think the champs see that on the wall, the CT, Giant Bananas. That's why they were fighting so hard this season. Like, we're not going to let these young people, these kids beat us. And I feel like you guys are coming up. You coming around the rear. I ran tracks. So it's like you guys are coming around, to lap them. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that because it's been like like I said, some little chatter online about, the vets are going to be knocked off their throne. I don't know if Jordan would be a part of that because he kind of came up behind some of these people I mentioned as well.
22, yeah, he's
Right. You
right
know what
at
I'm
the
saying?
cusp
Right,
almost.
right, right, right. But how do you feel about that, honestly?
No,
Y'all
I
are a
mean that's
threat.
the
Y'all are a
goal, and
threat. I'm
that's well.
sorry. Y'all are a threat. I'm sorry, y'all are.
No, I mean that isn't that the goal? Like the goal is to be,
Mm,
to be the one. You got to be the one. Like it is. Uh, I feel like that. Yeah, I mean that's the goal, and it is. Um, it was funny because the exclusive here is that Jordan was, he said, oh yeah, call me back for 50. Like he wants to take a break. Like it's not like his focus. And he kind of was like, I'm retired till like 50, maybe till, season 50.
right.
But I said like, hey, dude, we were talking. He's like, all right, if you win two in a row, I'll come back just to stop you from matching my three in a row streak that I had. And I was like, perfect, because I want to run one against you.
Right.
Um, and so it is a I don't know. It's like at the end, what that interview that they had there, where I was talking about like the torch. I was like, yeah, like I wish they showed more because I was like I said I'm not here for them to pass the torch. I'm here to take it. And
Mm,
I added on in the interview, like I was like, hey, like I don't say that disrespectfully. I say that because like I want to earn it. Like I want to win it. I
yes.
want to fight
Yes.
them for it. Like
Right.
that's what I mean. Like when I take it, like it's not like no disrespect. It just is like, hey, like
Right.
I want to fight for it. Like I want you to give it to me. And
That makes sense.
and that's the journey that I'm on, as I just
Yeah.
read.
Mm-hmm.
Be
Mm-hmm.
careful what you wish for, and
Yes.
but that is what I wanted. Yeah, the more
I
struggle is
feel that
never a bad
happen.
thing.
I feel that happened. I feel like the way the narrative, the verbiage, if you heard how their name was spoken like quite often between the men and the women. Kylan's coming up. Kylan's second again. I'm waiting for Kylan to come around the corner. And I feel like that's a lot of respect, and you are a contender. They probably would be looking for you next year. Like I said, when you and Devin had, because Devin's one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. I think he's so intelligent. If you guys were ever in alliance together, y'all would just like would be afraid. Okay. And I just when I saw that too, you guys, and you actually beat him, I was just like, wow, this is crazy. But that just shows what I was saying before, that you're coming up. You're quiet, a quiet thunder. They're not going to see you coming. It's going to be too late. The storm's already here. I'm like, oh, I can't do anything. It's too late. So that's how I look at you in your game.
Hopefully,
No, no, we manifestation. We
yes,
don't
you're
we
right.
don't
You're
say
right. You're right.
we
You're
already
right.
put it out there.
Absolutely.
We already put it out there. Okay, so it's gonna happen. It's like I'm gonna be in a red carpet one day interviewing you in California somewhere. So
There we go. Perfect. I'm looking forward to it.
so honestly, at the end of the day, I know that you're not going to stop, and I love that for you. Is I know that a lot of times you guys are under contract, you can't go to different whatever, whatever. But are you going to just take a break yourself, not from the show? But I know Challenge was pretty growing up. It's been 6 months. But do you have anything coming up, or are you just taking a little break? Are you preparing still? What's going on?
So that's the tricky thing about like all the reality TV competition, like casting stuff, is that like you have no say, like other than, I mean, you could say
Hmm.
yes or no, but it is kind of like, they call you or they don't. And we have examples from across the board of
Yes,
them
we do.
calling, they give months ahead. Sometimes they call you 10 days before. So I'm just in the philosophy of like, if I stay ready, you don't got to get ready. And I'm just
Period.
going to stay ready for anything that can come my way.
100%, 100%. Man, Kylan, as usual, I love to talk to you and get your thoughts about the season, just about it in general. Because even though, and stop apologizing for you
No,
giving
you're
your,
right. You're
you're
right.
comfortable with me, so of course you're going to give those. And I love the answers, and I give also very long with answers and responses, so it's whatever. So I'm getting along so well, don't trip. But again, thank you so much for coming on and taking your time to talk to me. This was wonderful as usual. You are awesome. I can't wait to see whatever you
Oh
got
my
coming
gosh,
up.
thank you. Thank
Whoever may
you. Me
call you.
too.
Okay, let me see how this works. Hold on, let me make sure.